Because if there is an alternative, you can buy the business, the same business, but without risking your family house, without raiding the family savings account, then why wouldn't you?
Now, Jonathan, a while back we talked about your 10 commandments and how one of them is how you should never create any personal risk when making a business acquisition. And we briefly touched on the idea of not risking your own capital. And I know sometimes you hear that people say, well, actually, for a business to be successful or a business acquisition to be successful, you need to have some skin in the game. You need to put some of your own money in. You need to put your house on the line in order for it to create the tension, if you like, to make it work. Why shouldn't we put our own money into a business acquisition?
There's a minority school of thought that says that you're not a proper business acquirer unless you've got lots of money in the bank, you are willing to risk your house, as you said, and that skin in the game basically means that you've got something to risk. What absolute nonsense. Because if there is an alternative, you can buy the business, the same business, but without risking your family house, without raiding the family savings account, then why wouldn't you do that?
Right.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, no one in their right mind would risk everything if they don't have to.
Yeah.
But can I tell you why I think that is?
Yeah, I do.
I think people say that because they're representing the broker mindset who likes the cash buyer, because those businesses, or many of the businesses that they're representing, would never get external finance. And therefore, you have to be a cash buyer, a little bit like a house with Japanese knotweed. You can't get a mortgage, but you can only buy it if you've got cash. So they want the cash buyer because the cash buyer, right, the check for 500,000. If you had to go and borrow 500,000, any bank or lender would look more forensically at that business than you might as a possibly emotional buyer. If it's your first one, you want to do it, you want to do your first deal, and would say, we'll never lend against that business for all these reasons. And the broker knows that. They know that business stinks.
Right.
They hope that you won't notice if you've got £500,000 burning a hole in your pocket. So the people who say you need to put your own money into the deal are the people pushing the narrative of you've got to be a cash buyer because they're either in the broker field or they're connected to the broker field in some way. What we want to do is we want to finance an acquisition by using other people's money, whether it's a bank, some sort of specialist lender, maybe it's a private investor, could be friends and family, but we don't have to reach in our own pocket. So we're looking for 100% finance. And if you cast your mind back, there used to be 100% mortgages, and that used to be 105% mortgages.
Right, yes.
With a 100% mortgage, you didn't have to put any money into the purchase of the property at all. And that's what we're doing here with businesses. But we're not getting a mortgage. We're not going to one source. We're going to multiple sources. We call it a deal jigsaw. We're putting all the pieces of the jigsaw together. And when we fit all the pieces together, we end up with a picture on the front which says, you've just done the deal.
Yeah, right. Right. The people who say you should have skin in the game, you should put your house on the line. Is there an element that somehow they believe that what you're doing is underhand or unethical?
100%. Yeah, well, that's the picture they like to paint. I mean, you know, I think possibly maybe they've tried it and haven't been able to do it, which is why they're a little envious of people who are doing it. But I think the picture they're trying to paint is that there is something underhand about not putting your own money in. I mean, it's like how dare you not put your own money in? Now, I say congratulations for being really, really smart, because it's really smart to buy the business without risking the family house. It's really dumb to risk the family house to buy a business. Yeah, that's a really, really bad move. Why would you do that?
You own a business and you're serious about growing via acquisition, you need to be part of my Mastermind group. This is where I hold your hand all the way through your first deal to get that first deal done. I put some information in the video description below.
Presumably you would do it because it makes the transaction faster, easier?
Well, no, I think you do it because you don't know there's an alternative.
Right.
So I've got plenty of people on Mastermind who have told me stories of businesses that they bought or tried to buy in the past where they have put their own money into it because they knew no different. So they went to their accountant. Their accountant said, oh, maybe you can get a 70% loan on this. You have to put 30% in yourself. Or they go to a high street bank and the bank says the same. So they stop there. They go, what? I trust my accountant. I trust my bank. Surely I'm not even going to bother investigating this any further. And then they find me and they discover, in actual fact, yeah, you might be able to get 70% from the bank, but you get 30% from these two other places. Or you get 50% from that lender, 50% from that lender. Or maybe there's three different ways of sourcing the funding. But you can fund it 100%. Now, can you do this with every single business? Is every single business fundable like this? Of course not.
Sure.
But you're not going to buy every single business. You probably only want to buy one or two or three or four.
And the Dealmakers Academy has taught you the specification and the shortlisting process to identify the ones that you can get funding for in the first place.
So when I say you've got to find 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like, oh my goodness, yeah, but where do I find them? Well, that's all in the process. We've got the process, and we know how to negotiate it, and we know how to position it, and we know how to go to the lender. Quite often I hear people who aren't in Mastermind, so they've been to lenders, and lenders have said to them, oh, you need to put in 20, 30%. Now, I'm not saying that the lender's wrong. No, the lender's right, but the question you've asked is wrong. The way you position the question is wrong. You've said, I want to go and buy this business. Will you lend me some money? And that's the wrong question. It needs to be positioned differently. But this is the value of education. This is the value of doing it right rather than just making it up as you go along and taking advice from people who've never done it before themselves.
Yeah. The students who come to you who have already bought a business at their own, using their own personal capital because they didn't know any better. Once the deal is done, can you effectively refinance a business? Can you restructure that deal?
Yeah, just like you can remortgage a house, you can refinance a business. It helps if the business is growing, if the business is moving upwards under your new ownership. And also it means that you could probably establish a relationship with the lender who likes what you're doing, sees the success of what you're doing and says, well, look, if you can help me buy this next business, I can do it again with that one. Because of course they make their money by lending you money, but they want collateral and they want to make sure that it's going to be not just repaid, but they're going to get their interest. And in fact, the more they lend you, the more money they make, as long as the security is there for the loan. And we've talked about this before, where you don't want to do personal guarantees. You do not want to be the security for the loan. You want the assets of the business to be the security for the loan.
But if you have fallen into the trap of becoming the fallback for the money, there is a way, once you've acquired the business, once it's growing, to effectively restructure a deal, refinance, and undo that personal guarantee.
Yeah, absolutely there is. And what we used to do is refinance onto a lower interest rate, but that might be quite hard at the moment. Give that another year, and I think that's going to be more feasible. But yeah, absolutely. So you just refinance the business, maybe removing some lending that you got that was higher interest, and maybe completely removing that personal guarantee. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, different lenders have different requirements. So that might well be a really good option for you.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So, second commandment, no personal finance.
Yeah, don't put your own money into the deal. Oh, there's one caveat. If you've got a business already, you might want to use some of that business's money, not your personal income, but some of the business's money to get a deal over the line. But you only do that, and this is my rule here, if you've got a plan to get it back within 90 days. And sometimes you can put the money in and take it back out a couple of days later. So there's a way, but you never risk your own personal capital. We're okay with business money. that's fine. We can move that around. And there might be some tax benefits to you actually in your existing business of doing that. But we don't, that's almost like a backup plan. It's not our first step.
Very good. Second commandment understood. Thank you, Jonathan.